Hello students, welcome to this lecture on digital and computer fundamentals. So let us have a quick look at what are the contents of this particular topic. It begins with your number system. Any digital system if you take, it makes use of variety of number systems like binary number, decimal, hexadecimal and octal. How do we represent that number? That is given here. This is the general representation of any number format. N represents a number and B represents the base, where D n minus 1 represents the most significant bit of that particular number digit, and D minus 1 to D minus m represents the fractional part. So here you can have a look at what are the different representations of number system. Binary represents base 2, octal is base 8, decimal is base 10 and hexadecimal is base 16. Just to have a quick review of the number system, we have included this. Then quickly moving to converting the number from one base to another, have a look at decimal to binary example. We have taken the example of decimal number 10.25, that is it consists of decimal part as well as the fractional part. So here if we take 10.25, then you have to keep on multiplying the fractional part by 2 till you get the decimal part as 0. So have a look at this. Fractional part is 0.25. 0.25 is multiplied by 2, so I will get 0.5. Then what is remaining here? 0.5. Still I have not obtained the decimal part as 0, so I have to multiply. I have to continue multiplying it with 2. So now I have got it as 1.00. So the fractional part is 0 now. So this means 0.25 represents 0.01 in base 2. So how you have to consider this from top to bottom? So 0.01. So the fractional part represents 0.01. Then coming to the integer part. So how to convert the decimal to binary? Simply by dividing it by 2 repeatedly till we get the remainder as 0. Till we get the value as 0. So it is here I am going to get the remainder as 0. Then after that 2 2s are 4, 1 is the remainder, 2 1s are 2, 0 is the remainder. Further I cannot continue with the division by 2. Hence you go from bottom to top, that is 1 0 1 0. Hence 10 represents 1 0 1 0 in binary and the fractional part is 0.01. So this is how we convert decimal to binary. Moving on to the next example, let us see the same example I have taken. This is the given binary number, how to convert it to decimal. So we will begin with the MSB bit. The weightage is assigned to each bit. So this is our LSB and this is our MSB. LSB is assigned with the value 0 and the MSB is assigned with the value 1 2 3, 2 to the power 3. So here LSB begins with 2 to the power 0, 2 to the power 1, 2 to the power 2 and 2 to the power 3. Hence you have to take that MSB bit, multiply it with its weightage. Based on the bit position, the weightage will be assigned. Then followed by that, we need to consider the fractional part also, where this 0, this MSB bit, it is multiplied by 2 to the power minus 1 and 1 is multiplied by 2 to the power minus 2. So that is going to give you 10.25. Anyways, our answer is verified because previously we have converted 10.25 to binary, which we got it as 1010.01 to the base 2. Okay. So this is how we convert binary to decimal. So let me revise. So in order to convert decimal to binary, consider the decimal part where you need to divide the given number by 2 till you cannot proceed further with the division operation, and then consider those reminders from bottom to top, whereas the fractional part need to be considered and it has to be multiplied by 2 till you get the decimal part as 0. Then how to consider that value? That has to be considered from top to bottom. Then this is binary to decimal. Based on the weightage assigned to that bit position, you have to convert it like this. Similarly, decimal to octal. Decimal to octal means here it is similar to decimal to binary, except instead of multiplying by 2 or dividing by 2, we need to consider 8 here. If I take the same example 10.25, then the fractional part 0.25 need to be multiplied by 8 till we get the decimal part as 0. So 0.25 multiplied by 8 is 2. Okay. So then after that you have to consider the decimal part 10. 10 divided by 8. Okay. So here if you perform that, you are going to get the answer as 12.2. Then let us take one more example, how to convert octal to decimal. Same as that of binary to decimal. Instead of 2, we need to take 8 here. And the weightage assigned to the bit position is same. This is our MSB bit, which is assigned with 8 to the power 1. And this is our LSB bit, which is assigned with 8 to the power 0. Okay. I hope this is clear, how to convert the numbers from one base to another base. Then the last example is converting hexadecimal number to binary. How to convert it? In order to convert hexadecimal number to binary, write the 4-bit binary equivalent of decimal. That is, 3A is a hexadecimal number. How do we represent 3 in binary? In terms of 4 bits, it is 0011. Similarly, A, it is represented as 1010. If you get confused with this, then better you write a table like this, where binary equivalent, 4-bit binary equivalent of hexadecimal number. So you write the binary sequence, 4-bit binary sequence, and the equivalent hexadecimal number. Then quickly you can refer to this table to convert either hexadecimal to binary or binary to hexadecimal. Similarly, how to convert binary to hexadecimal? Make a group of 4-bit binary number and write the hexadecimal equivalent of that. So if you refer to this, 0011 corresponds to 3 and 1011 corresponds to B, 1011 corresponds to D, and then we have 1011 corresponds to 1101 is D, 1011 is B from this particular table. Okay. So this is all about converting the numbers from one base to another base. Then quickly we'll recall what is 1's complement and what is 2's complement of a given number. 1's complement of binary number is nothing but if you invert individual bit of a given binary number, then that is going to be your 1's complement. Very simple. So if the given number is 0111, then invert each bit. So 0 you get inverted to 1, 1 inverted to 0, 1 inverted to 0, 1 inverted to 0. So you are going to get 1000. Okay. Very simple. Then how to obtain the 2's complement? First you obtain 1's complement of a given binary number, then add 1 to it. So previously what we got? 0111. 1's complement is 1000. So 1000. If you add 1 to that, then you are going to get 1001. That is nothing but your 2's complement. Where do we use this? In order to perform the subtraction operation with the help of the adder, we make use of this 2's complement technique. Now quickly we'll have a look at the basic gates that are available in the digital systems. We have a basic gates like AND gate, OR gate and inverter. These are the basic gates. Rest all are the gates which can be called as, these two are universal gates and these are derived gates. So what is AND gate? AND gate, you can see the graphic symbol of AND gate. It has 2 inputs. More than 2 inputs you can give only one output. So how do we represent the algebraic function of that? F is equal to x dot y, that is, it is equivalent to multiplication function. The truth table says that whenever both the inputs are high, then only the output is high. In rest of the other cases, the output is low. Then coming to the next basic gate, that is OR gate, we have two inputs again. More than two inputs we can have, but a single output. The algebraic function is represented as f is equal to x plus y, where it is the sum of two inputs, two or more inputs. The truth table says that whenever any one of the input is high, then the output is high. That means these gates can be used to check a particular condition. Whenever we want to see both the conditions or all the conditions should be true, then we make use of the AND gate. Or whenever there is a requirement for any one single condition need to be satisfied, then OR gate can be used. Inverter is nothing but one's complement of a given number can be obtained using inverter. Then coming to NAND gate, buffer is nothing but whatever input you are going to give, that will be obtained as the output. Then NAND gate is also called as universal gate, as well as NOR gate is also called as universal gate. How do we obtain NAND gate? So one question is asked in your question paper, which gate is obtained by adding NOT gate to the AND gate. See, if you look at this, look at the graphical symbol, this is similar to your AND gate except this bubble. From where do we got this bubble? If we add a NOT gate to your AND gate, then it becomes NAND gate. So it is a complement of AND gate. Similarly, the truth table is like this. Whenever both the inputs are high, then only the output is low. Otherwise, the output is high. Then we have NOR gate, which we obtain by adding NOT gate to the OR gate. So the function is the complement of OR gate. So here whenever both the inputs are low, then only the output is high. In rest of the cases, the output is low. Then we have few more gates which are useful in our digital system, that is exclusive OR and exclusive NOR. The function is like this: x y bar plus x bar y. Okay, so here for like combination of inputs, the output is 0. For unlike combination of input, the output is high. Whereas it is reverse for your XNOR gate. Then how do we obtain this XNOR gate? XNOR gate is obtained by adding the inverter to your XOR gate. So in one question paper they have asked, let us move to this question paper. Okay. So the output of the AND gate is high when any input is high, all the inputs are high, all the inputs are low, any input is low. So now what is the answer for this? Here according to the AND gates truth table, whenever all the inputs are high, then only the output is high. So option B is our correct answer. Okay. Going back to our slides. In your question paper you will get questions on simplification of Boolean expressions. For that you need to remember these laws, then only it becomes easy to simplify them. If you keep on making the factors and then keep on reducing it, then that consumes time. So you need to have a quick overview of what is identity law, what is complement law, what is commutative law. Everything you need to remember. That will help you in solving the question faster. Identity law, it is whenever anything is added to, whenever 0 is added to anything, then it remains the same variable itself. So here they have mentioned law of addition as well as law of multiplication. So x plus 0 is x itself, x multiplied by 1 is x itself. Okay. Similarly, we have a commutative law, that is x plus y is equal to y plus x, and x multiplied by y is y multiplied by y. So one more important law is distributive law, then De Morgan's law is there. So you need to remember these laws so that it becomes easy to simplify the Boolean expressions. Have a look at this. So these are also very important laws. So if you look at the question paper, they have asked one question: the simplified form of a bar plus b multiplied by a plus b is. So this is nothing but your law, x plus y multiplied by x bar plus y is equal to what? It is y, isn't it? So here you can see that 9D, x plus y bar is equal to x itself. Okay, so in the other way also you can take x plus y plus x bar plus y is equal to y itself. Okay, so in that way you can solve the problems quickly. Then with respect to that Boolean algebraic clause only, you have one more question. A multiplied by b plus c is equal to ab plus ac. ab plus ac. Which law it is? Which law it is? It is distributive law. So from this we can say this is distributive law. Okay. Let us move to the next topic, that is very important topic, combinational circuits and sequential circuits. So let us have a quick overview of what is combinational circuit. Combinational circuit, it is basically made up of gates, and it depends, the output of the combinational circuit depends only on the combination of inputs that are provided. It does not remember anything, there is no memory element. That is a basic difference between combinational circuit and sequential circuit. How it looks like, we'll see. So this is how your combinational circuit looks like. There are n input variables and we have m outputs available at combinational circuit. So here there is no memory element. It does not remember anything. Based on whatever input you are giving, the output will be given. So then how it will be helpful in solving your questions? So combinational circuit means there is no memory element. So whenever any circuit consists of flip-flops or buffers or any other memory element, then you must say that it is a sequential circuit. It is not a combinational circuit. Then how your sequential circuit looks like? It looks like your it is nothing but combinational circuit added along with the memory element. So what are the inputs to the combinational circuit? There are external inputs and a feedback is given by the memory element. Okay, based on the previous output and based on the current input, it is going to produce the output. Example for that is your latches and flip-flops. So we have various combinational circuit examples. In that half adder, full adder, encoder, decimal to BCD encoder and decoders. Let us see these one by one. Before that, let me show one more question. Okay, multiplexer has, okay, first let me complete this. This is your half adder. How your half adder looks like? There are 2-bit inputs. A is 1-bit input, B is 1-bit input, and it produces 2-bit output. 1 bit is sum, the other bit is carry. How it works? Suppose if there are 2 inputs A and B, the combinations will be for 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1. What is the sum? According to the Boolean algebraic law, 0 plus 0 is 0, 0 plus 1 is 1, 1 plus 0 is 1, 1 plus 1 is 0, followed by carry is equal to 1. So from this table we write sum is equal to A XOR B and carry is equal to A and B. And how do we implement this? From these expressions we have obtained this sum and carry for the half adder. Remember, half adder means there are only 2 inputs and 2 outputs will be produced. Then what is the difference between half adder and full adder? We'll see that. Your full adder looks like this. What is the difference? A and B as well as C in. There are 3 inputs and 2 outputs, sum and carry out. So what is the what makes it different from half adder? Here along with the 2 inputs, it takes care of the carry generated from the previous bits also. Okay, so here you can see the truth table for A, B and C in and how sum and carry out are obtained. Expression for sum is as given like this: A XOR B XOR C in, and for C out it is AB plus BC in plus A C in. So we can obtain C out in other format also. Okay. Anyways, what is required here is you have to remember what is the expression for sum and carry for half adder, and what is the expression for sum and carry for full adder, and the difference between the half adder and the full adder. Now you have one question on this full adder. Okay. The full adder adds the kth bits of two numbers to the, that means kth bit in the sense what? X and Y. So kth bit of X and kth bit of Y, I am adding to what? I am adding it to the carry from k minus 1th bit. Okay, if you look at this PPT, you can see here A, B, C in. Okay, so the answer for this is, it is the two numbers, the two bits of two numbers are added to the carry from k minus 1th bit. Similarly, already we have completed this part. What logic function is produced by adding an inverter to the output of an AND gate? This already I explained. So NAND gate is produced if we add a NOT gate to the AND gate. Okay. Multiplexer, we'll see that later. This is all about full adder, half adder, expressions for sum and carry of both full adder and half adder. Then coming to encoder part. So this is how your encoder looks like. Encoding means we are making the inputs compact. So if I have 2 to the power n input lines, then I am compacting it to n output lines. So what is the need for this? So usually the encoding process is used in order to hide the information. Okay, so we have taken the example of 4 to 2 encoder. So if there are 4-bit inputs, then I am encoding it to 2 bits only. For example, here if y0 is 1, then the output is 0 0. If y1 is 1, output is 1. y2 is 1, then output is 2. And if y3 is 1, the output is 3. This is how we hide the information, or we make the input compact with the help of the encoders. So the expressions are given. So anyways, it is obtained from this truth table only. So encoder, what is the function of the encoder? It has to convert the input into compact output. That means we are hiding the information here. Okay, then coming to the next combinational circuit, that is decoder. What exactly the decoder does is the reverse operation of the encoder. So encoder will encode the data, and at the receiving end we need to decode it. How to decode that? So let us have a block diagram for this decoder. There are n data inputs, and we have enable inputs which is required for your digital circuits, and we have a decoder which is going to decode it into 2 to the power n possible outputs. Basically in communications we make use of encoder at the sender side, and the decoder is available at the receiver side for the secure data transmission. So then we have a few questions on multiplexer here. What exactly is a multiplexer? Multiplexer is many to one. There are many inputs, out of which only one output one is available at the output side, depending upon the select lines. So the solution for this is, the function of a multiplexer is, it has to select one out of n input data sources and transmit it to a single channel. Okay, now here they have taken the example of number 84 in BCD is. So BCD stands for binary coded decimal. So here it should be 8. 8 means, how do we represent it in binary? It is 1000, and 4 is represented as 0100. The solution for this is 10000100. Okay. Then The next question is 2's complement can be obtained from 1's complement by, how do we do that? By adding 1 to the 1's complement. Okay. Then we'll look at a few more questions. The same thing is asked here also. Multiplexer has many input lines and many output lines. No, this is not correct. We have many data input lines and one output line. Solution A is the correct answer for this question. Multiplexer, remember, many inputs, one output. And what is demultiplexer? The reverse of multiplexer. One input and many outputs. Okay. And here they have taken the counter flip-flops also. So what is flip-flop? Flip-flop is a 1-bit memory element which can store either 0 or 1. So what is counter? Counter is the application of the flip-flop. If we cascade the flip-flops, then it becomes counter. One flip-flop can have 2 states. So I can say that 2 to the power 1 state is available for one flip-flop. Okay. Similarly, if I have 2 flip-flops, then I can have 2 to the power 2, that is 4 states. So here n-bit counter has minimum dash number of flip-flops. In the sense, how many flip-flops are required for a n-bit counter? For a n-bit counter, you should have n flip-flops. If you say that it is a 4-bit counter, then you should have 4 flip-flops. If you say it is a 2-bit counter, then there should be 2 flip-flops, like that. One more question paper. Okay, here it is after reduction expression a plus abc plus bd plus bdc bar gives. So you need to use the factor method, factorization method. So a plus abc bd plus bdc bar. So if you reduce that, then you are going to get the final expression as a plus bd. A plus bd. By applying the Boolean laws, you can obtain the final value. So this is all about your combinational circuits, then sequential circuits. So in sequential circuit, we have flip-flops, latches, and then counters, which I have discussed briefly. Then at the end, let us see the block diagram of our computer. Okay. So basically the computer consists of the storage unit, the central processing unit, the input unit, and the output unit, so that we can interact with the outside world. So what are the important components of your storage unit? It has a primary memory and it has a secondary memory. Primary memory, it is used to hold the process that are currently running, and the secondary storage is used to retain the information that is required for the future use. And we have in the central processing unit the control unit and the arithmetic and logical unit. What is the job of arithmetic and logical unit? It performs arithmetic and logical operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, whereas control unit controls the operations that are carried out by the computer. And it also takes care of whether the computer is performing the read operation, the write operation. So that is taken care by the control unit. And what is the role of the input unit? The user can interact with the machine with the help of the input device like keyboard, and the output unit will allow the user to read the information or to retrieve the information from the machine. Okay. So the dotted line says that it is a control flow, how the control signals are communicated to the storage unit, input unit, and output unit. So control unit will send the control signal indicating that whether the input is read or the user is entering the data, or the data need to be sent to the output unit, or whether it is a read operation to the memory, write operation to the memory. That is control flow. Data flow is exact data transmission. So this is all about your computer. So these are the basic building blocks of your computer. Then apart from that, you have two more important aspects: computer hardware and computer software. Computer hardware consists of all these things: your input devices, your storage unit and output devices. And software, it is the operating system that will control or synchronize the operations that is carried out by the control unit. And also you can program your computer using various programming languages, beginning from machine language, assembly level language and higher level language. So higher level languages are user friendly, and hence we prefer higher level languages to program our computer to perform any task. Thank you.